I've been looking at it for 6 days, but somehow didn't notice the Alps in the background.
You say that now, lightweight men's 8. Some controversy with the lightweight men's 8 a couple of years ago. FISA said they were going to stop running it. Then there was a lot of brouhaha, particularly Australia wanted to get it back into the program. They did so. And then this year didn't even send an 8.
And nor indeed in 2005, when Australia led the protest at FISA Congress, did they send an 8 to that championships, and it was in their own time zone, and it was in Gifu, and it was perfectly achievable. And it was also a year when most Olympic athletes are thinking about retirement and so on, taking a year off, when they had their best chance. So very curious response from them.
You often get some people suggesting that perhaps the lightweight 4 should kind of double up with the 8, or some way of having all of these events, but with the same number of competitors. We've already said is limited at the Olympic Games, particularly. But I think it's definitely a worthwhile event, and obviously for me in particular, fantastic it's another seat for the coxswain.
Well, that's important because you were being personal there, but if coxswains don't get races, then they don't get training, and
they don't get better,
and they don't get any better. And also you lose recruits to the sport because they think, well, there are so few chances. Why should I bother? So we have a curious situation in China at the moment where there's a huge national voting competition from 1,000 claimants to cox the women's 8, I think it is. And
as it is, I think that's. I think it may actually be over now, and yeah, the eventual winner was actually the previous women's 8 cox. So I think it was more of a.
You don't suggest there was any sort of fix here.
I think it was more of the press thing rather than anything else. But just going down now, going through the lanes, they start getting their boats into those clogs. Lane 1, Poland. Lane 2, Denmark. Fantastic history, of course, in lightweight men's rowing. Lane 3, Italy. Also fantastic pedigree in the lightweight 8 event. In lane 4, Germany. Lane 5, the Netherlands. And lane 6, going to be closest to the camera, the United States of America. But the Italians are usually very, very strong in the lightweight 8s.
The Italians were nowhere until Tor Nielsen left Spain and went to Italy in 1979, and immediately,
that's still a while ago,
completely transformed Italian rowing and lightweight rowing particularly. They've managed to keep it up. Andrea Coppola, the new head coach, has had his critics this year, but we've begun to see the 4 come through and take a medal, and other Italian crews beginning to show, so it's not gone off the rails. And in lightweights, they are
very
historically supreme.
The clogs drop, and we're away cleanly. Lightweight men's 8, world best time set way back in 1992, when it was still, of course, I think an Olympic event. 5:30, which is fast. Current world champions, Italy.
It was actually not an Olympic event, and the reason it was set in 1992 in Montreal in Canada was because the Olympics in Barcelona and the World Championships, which take place in every Olympic year, it's worth going into that. So the crews that we say are not in Olympic events and are not qualifying for the Olympics through this regatta will, of course, be racing next year at a World Championships. So it's not a year out for them, it's just a year in a different place.
Apologies, my excuse is I was only 10. The Italians now and the Germans neck and neck up there with the Dutch in close attendances. These 3 now about a canvas up on the rest of the field, and the Italians look to be just finding their rhythm. It's a very low down, kind of punchy on the leg stroke from them. The Germans, and they next to them, more of a backswing. You can see that, very noticeable. And the Dutch probably somewhere in the middle between the 2 of those styles.
They are. The Dutch are much more likely to be able to scull and roam. They're much more flexible in the way they train rowers, and they can assemble 8s quite quickly like this from talented people in lots of ways. And indeed, they've...
Well, I think it was just Italy through the line first, but the Dutch definitely
the Dutch
very,
are right
very
up
close.
there, and I must say, I would have thought that they certainly are in second place, if not in first.
Well, I think they've edged it now. They're just moving out a couple of feet.
I really think this Dutch 8 is moving.
On the Italians, on the Germans as well. But it's these 3, Italy, Germany, and the Netherlands. Netherlands at 41 strokes a minute, you can see there. Italians at 42. The lightweight 8s, of course, notoriously always high rating there. Germans slightly underrating to other competitors. Perhaps got a little bit more left in the tank for the final sprint, but it's the Dutch now moving away confidently as long strokes. All three of these now over a length to the good. The rest of the competition is going to be these three.
I would say the race for medals and 4th, 5th and 6th was over. That gap is a huge gap in 8s. You can just see the bow balls of the chasing crews, and that's with the help of the parallax. So
the Dutch really moving now. They're out to half a length now over the Italians, about just over a third of a length on the Germans in the lane next to them.
You were talking about style earlier, and this is extraordinary because I got a momentary flashback of the Dutch 8 that won the 1996 Olympics and the 1995 World Championships open weight, which was absolutely this mould and raced like this. It would get out in front, and that was made up of scullers. It had Nico Reinks and his partner from the double scull world champions. It was made up of universal oarsmen.
Well, these guys are looking very fluent.
They really do.
Very, very good rowing out here from the Dutch. I think Dutch rowing's really also moved on as well. Of course, we saw their open weight Cox's 4 just earlier on, but as we just focused there on the Germans, almost full length back now from the Dutch, who are looking imperious as they stretch out their lead in front of this field.
This could turn into a second Netherlands gold medal after Marit van Eupen. Off your screen, but I can see in front of us that she's just got back into her sculling boat, and she's clearly going to line herself up to cheer on this crew as they cross the line.
Maybe trying to race with them. But at the moment, it's 2/3 of a length with the Netherlands out in front. Following them, it's Germany in turn about half a length up on the Italians. And the Danes just starting to come up on Italy. Maybe they can smell that the Italians are just dropping back and out of that gold medal contention. Perhaps the Danes can steal something now and pick up a bronze. But in front of the field, Dutch very strong.
I think they're still moving. I mean, it seemed to me that they're increasing their lead over Germany.
I think so. I think the whole field is stretching now.
Germans heaving a bit for
lightweights.
They don't, there isn't that much heave in them. So that looks like they're much closer than they will be when we come to the 500-meter line.
Interesting, they're all fanning out, isn't it? With Dutch 3/4 up on Germany, who are
German bow ball on the Dutch stroke.
Yeah.
So that's more than 3/4 of a length. United States closest to camera coming through in 6th place. Germany being urged on there not only by their coxswain but also by the crowd.
See there the aerial shots, but it's looking like it's going to be the Dutch without too much bother now, coming into 300 meters to go, and the Dutch looking very strong as the blades just slip into the water there. Very, very quick, very clean, coming up to 250 meters to go, and the Dutch 3/4 length up on the Germans. Germans starting to push back in front of his home crowd, but it's going to be Holland from Germany. The Italians just starting to move in 3rd position. I think these are going to be the medal positions.
You can't see Denmark coming back on Italy now.
No, not at all.
So it's really a question of the margin the Dutch can hold on to, because the Germans not rowing so well, but they're moving on them and attacking very aggressively with huge support from 10,000 people on this side of the course and another couple of hundred or more on the other side. So
Dutch blades just starting to hang up a little bit in the air, but they're still out there, they're still confident, almost out to that full length again. Cox on the bow ball. It's going to be Holland across the line first, to champions of the lightweight 8s.
Good 3/4 length bin too.
Germany coming through in 2nd, the bowman in all sorts of trouble, and then Italy through in 3rd, Denmark 4th, and the US possibly just pipping Poland on the line for the 5th spot, Poland 6th.
Several people collapsed in that race, so they clearly thought it was a very hard race, but I thought the Dutch, none of them collapsed, are they? No. In other regattas, sometimes various members of the crowd get into the water and have a little swim across to see the Dutch. But they may be checked from entering the water here, or they may feel that it's a bit cool. But that's the first Dutch 8 win in any category since 1990.